All righty then. All right. Welcome everyone to Crypto Freedom Academy Live, where I'm here every week on Fridays at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard and coming at you with all the bridging, bridging the financial gap here. And I also have a show on unify.tv. So you guys are here. Thank you for joining me. The replay for this is only available to members. Except for the last week's episode. I left that one up because I felt like it just talked about some good things that I believe needed to be talked about and needed to be shared. And so I'm using that sort of as like the magnet for my community. So last week's episode is going to stay up, but every episode is supposed to be only replay for members. So this episode will only be replayed for members. All right. So today, I want to go through some quick announcements here and then go into my little spiel. I want to talk today about disseminating FUD and becoming aware of the manipulation that is happening through media, through either movies, mainstream narratives, mainstream media, and now social media. It's like we have to become aware of all of this. I don't like using the word misinformation, but it's like it's there are people out there trying to, or systems and people out there that are basically just there to perpetuate the box, perpetuate the matrix that they created. They meaning hundreds plus years of people working towards the specific mindset of centralization and power and control and greed. And so it's not just like one person or one group of people or even a few groups of people. It's a mindset. It's a mindset. And that mindset has infiltrated every layer of this reality. It can be your next door neighbor. If anyone has ever watched Matrix, right? There's Agent Smith. And if Neo was there in the Matrix, if he was doing what he was supposed to, then he's good. Agent Smith wouldn't pop up. But as soon as he would show his power, right? As soon as he would express out that power that they could feel in the Matrix, a random person would turn into Agent Smith and then come after you. And then, the Agent Smith would be in the body and then, pursuing that person. So the same thing's happening now. We have our neighbors, the people we work with, the people we go to church with, the people we talk to. It can be anybody that will kind of shift into that mindset. So, so there's two layers here really. Is like, okay, there is the mindset of the people that I'm directly associating with, or I'm directly communicating with, that are actively in my life. And then there's the narratives, right? This fictional reality that we consider to be the world. And that's the biggest difference there, guys. That's the shift we all need to start making is, am I prioritizing or taking more literal what's actually in front of me, the physical people in front of me, or is it this digital reality called the world that they created? Which, by the way, it's not, we don't live on the world. We don't live in the world. We live on Earth. Oh, Otto, it's the same thing, Otto. It's the same words. You're used differently. No, it's not the same thing. Legally speaking, lawfully speaking, it's completely different. World is their fictional reality. Earth is what you're standing on. Person is not you. You are a man or a woman. Person is a registered corporation. So we have to be aware of the words we are using, and also aware of the people that are using words and what we're saying yes and no to. Okay, it's all based on implication. It's all based on manufactured consent. Okay, how do they manufacture the consent? Through the manipulation of mainstream media, movies, and social media now. So before I get into all of that, let's do a few announcements here. I do have a few announcements. So today I want to announce, let me just pull that up here. Here we go. All right. So today I want to announce that the next cohort The next master heart, which is the hero's journey towards your relationship to money, towards your relationship to the systems, right? How you relate to centralized systems is super important, in my opinion, and how we relate to each other, and the energy of money. All those relationships are super important, and most people really don't take them into account. So we're going to be starting the next one. The next master heart is going to be middle of February. I'm thinking either the 20th or the 21st. It's like a Monday or a Tuesday. So I will be ramping up that next cohort soon here. So if you want to be a part of that and you want to learn how to make money online, how to make money in crypto, how to protect the value of your wealth, right? We all have accumulated savings, whether it's actual money in the bank or properties that we own or a car or whatever asset that we own. If it's inside their centralized structure, you don't own it. You don't actually own it. So the question is, right? How do we own things out for real, outright, where we don't have to pay property taxes or registration taxes or centralized system taxes? So that cohort is going to begin February 20th or 21st. So then we're going to be ramping up to that. The wait list will begin, I think, in a week or so. So, and then, I want to also give you guys the perspective or the announcement that I'm going to be doing a retreat. And this retreat is going to be in April. And I want to, I know I'm talking about it already outright. I haven't gone into much detail about this retreat. It's called Remembering Your Protocol. But I want to kind of peel it back. I want to pull it back, and go back to basics of like, why am I doing this retreat? Like, why in the world did I come up with this decision to create an opportunity for people to embody their relationship to money and what that actually feels like? Well, it goes back to my days with Sacred Sons. If you guys aren't aware, there's a men's group that has birthed in the last, I'd say, 5 or 6, 7 years or so. And I started most of my healing journey through that container, through being a part of this group. And there is something to coming together and circling up and being vulnerable. There's just something to that. If you guys have never tried that, I would 100% recommend putting your body into the middle of 10 other people, 9 other people that are willing to sit in a circle and talk about their limitations, their challenges, how they've overcome their challenges and limitations, and listening to what others are saying and how they're reacting to each other. There's so much healing in that. And then on top of that, you have the opportunity as a unit now, as a container, because you're starting to in that retreat time or that span of 7 days, you'll be able to start connecting in that way. Then you'll start to go and actually go through experiences together to start to feel how it feels like in your specific body. And you could talk about it. Oh, for you, it felt like heaviness. Oh, for you, it felt like a lightness. Oh, for you, it felt like tingling. Interesting. For me, it felt like XYZ. And so the goal here is to really bring back that sort of community. We're not just going to online spaces to connect, which is great. These are tools that we can use to do that. But now it's our opportunity to connect in real life and feel the resonance from someone else, from this other person that's willing to do all this work right in front of you. And then integration after that, right? Being able to reconnect with that person using the technology again. So it's being able to see the opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to our relationship to ourselves, technology, the energy of money, with each other. This is going to be amazing. So that was a long announcement there, but I just want to make sure you guys are aware of what that is. So I'm going to start airing out the importance of community and doing this kind of work. It's shadow work or awareness work, call it whatever you want, but it's being aware of self. All right. That was the announcements. So let's get into this a little bit here and what I want to discuss. So today, like I said, I want to talk about how, hold on, let me pull up my notes here. It's on my phone. Okay, there it is. Sorry, guys. Usually so I do the notes on my phone and I use notes, the iCloud notes, and it wasn't showing up on my computer. And I'm like, update, telling the phone to update. And it just did. All right, here we go. So, so today, like I said, I want to talk about breaking down fear, uncertainty, and doubt in media and movies. And okay, so I had a theory. This was back in, I want to say beginning of 2021, maybe end of 2020. I had a theory back then that was like, okay, I started connecting the dots of like, what's the goal here? Like, why are they doing this? Why is this thing that they want to put in people's arms? And there's a 5G, the EMF radiation that's coming from these towers, and there's a bigger picture here that I wasn't really connecting the dots until this moment. So I want to show this video from my Instagram that I created a few years ago. That was my theory on what the bigger plan here really was. So here we go. All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. Wanted to get on here real quick, do a quick live because I have some thoughts and I got to get them down. And I thought I'd do a live while getting those thoughts down. So let's wait for a few people to come in and I'll start talking. Hey, guys. So I've been kind of connecting my own dots, and I was here driving, and I had a sort of an epiphany moment of thoughts that I wanted to lay out to you guys and see what you guys think. Hey guys, hey everyone. Like my haircut? Just got a new haircut. So here are my thoughts, okay? Now we've... Oh. It restarted, sorry. Come on, is it not gonna play for me? I don't think it's gonna play, guys.
When did your own association with...
Let me try that again. Oh, it's not going to play. Okay. Well, let me just, I can even just read this. Okay. So I'll just read it. I wanted to show you guys the video, but all right. So my theory back then, and this was, look, let me see the comments. This was 74 weeks ago. So I don't even know the exact date that I created this video, but I said here, Morgellons, nanobots, D-Wave, quantum computer. All right. Which is DARPA. I had a stream of thoughts on the connection between all of these different variables that connect together for one simple purpose. The question is, if they are using sound frequencies and light frequencies as tools against us, can we use those same tools to heal ourselves? My theory, here it is they are using nanobots as thermal conduits for 4+1 and using the quantum computer, which is DARPA, D-Wave, to tune into our specific DNA frequency that is currently being collected by the testing, right? The C19 testing that they were doing. And then I wrote, have the leaders of the world already been activated? Has the voice of God been beamed into these leaders through Project Bluebeam? Whew, I put a lot of layers there. Point is that I had this theory that like, hey, I think they're just, creating another level of control where, I think what I believe is happening what I believe is happening is that they, once the war on the consciousness started, which I believe to have been about 150 years ago or so, once the war on consciousness started, there was this slow, gradual progression towards the inevitable future that awareness is inevitable, right? So that like they started the war on consciousness started this, okay, we just got to control people's perspective and what they believe and start to adjust that so it fits what we want. Well, you create enough pressure, you create enough destruction, you're going to get kickback. You're going to get, they say good times make weak men make hard times make strong men make good times. It's a cycle. And so it got to a point where that war on consciousness became so heavy, the bad men were creating that war, that the good men started to wake up. And I believe that they became, the bad men became aware of this. The ones that were weak became aware of this and started to go, oh no, they're waking up to our plan here. So what do we need to do? We need to figure out a way to physically affect their bodies so that they're easily manipulated even more, where they're more easily controlled. So then we got to this point now where we got the jab and nanobot technology and frequency to put it all together and essentially create zombies, right? Create human robots. You can call it whatever you want. At the end of the day, it's non-living entities, bodies moving around that are being pushed around by frequencies, not by consciousness. So let's go back to the past now. I want to go back here to the past and discuss the father of propaganda. So the father of propaganda is Edward Bernays. So let's we're gonna just Google this stuff together so I can show you guys what I'm looking at. All right, so let me share my page here. Father of propaganda. So this is Edward Bernays, the father of propaganda, and he was called that because let's just go to his Wicca page. This is his Wicca page here. Edward Bernays. So he was an American theorist, considered a pioneer in the field of public relations and propaganda, and referred to in his obituary as the father of public relations. His best-known campaign included a 1929 effort to promote female smoking by branding cigarettes as feminist torches of freedom. And his work for the United Fruit Company in the 1950s, connected with the CIA, orchestrated to overthrow of the democratically elected Guatemalan government in 1954. Point is, this guy was one to use this technology of, man, he lived to 1995. He was born in 1891 and lived to 1995. He lived to be 103 years old. Imagine the influence he was still having in the 80s and 90s as being considered, the father of propaganda. And then there's, we can pull from the Nazi regime. The Nazis used ideological subversion. They use propaganda based on a lot of these techniques to essentially what you do is you create the problem and then you show the solution. You sell the solution, and you can do that by fear. So propaganda through fear, and that's what the name of this whole segment was, disseminating FUD. That's what's happening here. We've been disseminating FUD to a point to where okay, what is actually driving my actions here? Is it just a fear, or is there a reality? Is there something actually that's going to be happening here? So once we go down this rabbit hole, we see that there are ties. The father of propaganda has ties to Netflix, which is also like the founder, the creator of Netflix, has ties, like family ties to Edward Bernays. And then you see all the people that are heavily invested into Netflix. So you say, oh, that is a literal propaganda machine. And we have to really be careful in what we're watching there, or at least be aware of what are the layers here that they're trying to push. What's the ideological subversion here? What's the subliminal messaging? I watch Netflix, I do, but I watch it with that mindset. Well, it's more of what's driving me to keep watching is the curiosity of what else are they trying to trap us into? What else are they trying to indoctrinate us with? And there's even this last little clip here I wanted to show you guys. Let me pull this up here. And so this is one that has been basically driving the fear of boomers for decades. Here it goes. Anybody recognize this?
Has ever been. The members of the Science and Security Board move the hands of the doomsday clock forward, largely, though not exclusively, because of the mounting dangers in the war in Ukraine. We moved the clock forward the closest it has ever been to midnight. It is now 90 seconds to midnight. The members of the Science and Security Board.
That's what they, so you got, you know, I don't know if you guys, I'm 36 years old. Growing up, I remember seeing this and be like, oh no, we're 2 minutes to midnight. I remember feeling that. So imagine the decades of that, repeating this and people watching it and going, oh no, we're really close to nuclear war. And the reason they did this is because of the war in Ukraine with Russia and everything. Guys, there is another war happening right now, and it's happening right now. And it's not going to be bombs and nuclear weapons or anything like that. It's not. All right. Well, let's shift things here a little bit here. I have my good brother from another mother, Brian Velez, coming in. We're going to dive a little deeper into FUD, especially here in the crypto space. It's like they took that concept of ideological subversion, and you know, it's all these techniques of propaganda. So propaganda techniques. It was Edward Bernays created the initial techniques through his writing, and then the Nazis took it to the next level with propaganda, and then in the Cold War, the Russians, you know, they renamed it ideological subversion essentially in their language, but they perfected it. They perfected the subversion and that type of infiltration. So now we're in the crypto space, and it's like it's a whole other level. So, all right, here we go. My good brother Brian Velez, what's up? How you doing?
What's going on, Otto? Nice to see you.
Good to see you too, brother. Yeah, man. I was the first half here of this episode of this show today was me talking about just all the layers of indoctrination, the layers of manipulation of information. You know, they call it ideological subversion or propaganda. And it's happening in the crypto space in so many ways. So before we get into, you know, discussing your write-up and how that looks like for this next 30 days, what are your thoughts on propaganda in the crypto space?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the crypto space has been pretty much co-opted by private equity, venture capitalists, pretty much the complete opposite of what it was supposed to be, which was started by Bitcoin as a grassroots project to kind of free the world of monetary policy that's controlled by central banks. And so it's kind of funny. Yeah, now crypto is not owned by central banks, but it's owned by all the most wealthiest, you know, hedge funds and financiers out there in the world. So probably not in the right direction of where it's supposed to go, but I mean, this is just how the world works, unfortunately.
Yeah, man. I've been, you know, this last year, right? This whole last year has been this like, it started off amazing in the crypto space, and we're like, yay, things are happening, things are going up, and then it started with Luna. And then what I realized started happening was this like dance between the events that were happening in the space and the narratives and how they were describing and how they were approaching it. To where I had to go, oh, there's some protection happening here. You know, when the FTX thing happened, the guy that made the write-up, the after the fact, from New York Times, I think it was, or New York Post. He had gone to SBF's house for one of the orgies like 3 months prior or 2 months prior. So when he did the write-up, I don't know if you actually read that write-up, but it was like,
I did not.
He's just trying to figure it out. Like, give the guy a break. And this was again before, this was after the event, but before like what we know now. So it's like in that moment of like, protect him.
Yeah, the media coverage around the whole FTX collapse has me scratching my head. It's, you know, there's definitely media in bed with him. There's definitely politicians in bed with him. I think Sam Bankman-Fried was the largest Democratic donor and also one of the larger Republican donors too, which people don't talk about. But
I know, yes.
The fact that he's just in bed with politicians in general is a huge red flag. Obviously, he was trying to lobby for the crypto industry to his own self-interest and benefit. But then, I mean, the way the media has been kind of throwing softballs at him or even just kind of treating it with kid gloves is a head scratcher, because this is really just criminal fraud, right? You cannot take customer deposits and then use them to trade in a hedge fund. That's completely illegal. It's like if your deposits with Citibank or Chase, they were taking your money and gambling with it on the back end. Like that's criminal
I
activity.
feel like I know you just said that and it's supposed to be illegal, but like it feels to me like they probably do it in a loophole way. But yeah.
They do. They do. I mean, technically, all money in banks are rehypothecated into different loans. That's how banks make money, through the interest rate differentials. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing with FTX, I mean, it's a disaster, honestly.
Well,
And
I say,
we
see,
still
the
don't know
reason
what's
I
going to
say
happen.
that, yeah. See, the reason I say that, like I make a joke about the banks doing it, because Sam Bankman-Fried went in front of Congress and he literally said, but this is what everybody else does. He literally said that.
Yes, if that's
Why
ever
am
your
I getting in
argument,
trouble?
if that's ever your argument, everyone else is doing it. That means you are guilty.
Yeah. I mean, but that's literally what he said. He's like, but this is, I mean, he said it in like very intellectual, intelligent
Sure,
way.
sure.
But it was basically like, but everybody else is doing this way. How am I to blame for this action that everybody else is doing? But yes, I agree. Don't follow everybody off the bridge when they jump. Be aware, use discernment. So my question then is, now to go into your write-up and what you see things moving to now in 2023. Because I'm already kind of seeing a shift away. People are really trying to figure out different ways to do things in crypto space that are not centralized. So instead of going to centralized exchanges or going to decentralized exchanges, instead of going there to do even DeFi, they're now choosing more DEX. Do you see that also happening with who we're listening to, media now, because of all the stuff that happened in 2022 and protecting a Sam Bankman-Fried?
I mean, I think I get most of my news sources now are from independent sources. So I don't even try to use mainstream media for anything at this point. I try to just go direct to source, to people I trust, who I respect and value. And yeah, I mean, I'd much rather get a news source about breaking news on FTX from an insider who's actually seeing what's going on, as opposed to a New York Times or even a CoinDesk article for that matter. Although they actually did break the whole FTX Alameda thing, so they did a good job with that. But in general, you can't really trust these large scale publications, because at the end of the day, most of these companies are owned by somebody else who's kind of controlling the system. So I think CoinDesk is actually up for sale right now because of DCG. So Digital Currency Group owns CoinDesk, and they're putting up CoinDesk for sale, which is just another like head scratcher for me, because it's media in the crypto space is really important, and you want that to be as unbiased as possible. But obviously, Digital Currency Group has its own problems with the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and they also own and control a media company. So it's just something to consider for people who don't realize that's happening.
So when you say independent sources, give me an example. Like, do you mean like just scrolling through Twitter and finding people that you trust, Instagram? Like, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so I mean, there's some really great Substacks out there. I think Substack is a great platform. I mean, I use it for my own research notes, but I know I've met a lot of great authors just on following people on Twitter and Substack, who are putting out just independent research as an individual, not tied to any company or business. And they're just doing good old fashioned roll up your sleeves due diligence on potential scams and things that are going on in the world, and doing God's work right there. Right. And so, we need more people like that to stand up, who have an expertise and who have some type of inside knowledge, who are willing to share with people how the machine works, how the sausage is made.
How the sausage is, yes, that's where, I posted a video recently about the Wizard of Oz and like all the nuance in that movie. But yeah, it's like we have the ability now to pull back the curtain and look at the little old guy behind the curtain, pulling the levers and pulling the strings. So tell me your experience with now this next month, like, what we do here, talk about your Substack. If you guys don't know that are watching, Brian writes a monthly Substack for his fund. It's called Netison Capital. It's substack.netisencapital.com. Correct?
Yep.
So make sure you guys check it out. Sign up. It's very good. He always just he takes so much information and then summarizes it and condenses it. And you know what Einstein said? If you don't know, if you can't simply explain it, you don't know it well enough. There it is.
Right.
All right, Brian.
I'm trying to get better.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, really, what this upcoming letter is going to focus on is that we're kind of in this strange period, which I would kind of call transitory Goldilocks. So transitory Goldilocks is kind of a reprieve, and from a macro regime segmentation standpoint, this is when growth is accelerating and inflation is decelerating. That's typically kind of the sweet spot for risk assets. So this is why you've been seeing equities and crypto rally since January 1st. We actually just got the Q4 GDP data yesterday, which I think it was growing 2.9%, which is inconsistent with what the Fed wants. The Fed wants basically flat growth this year in terms of GDP, but the economy is still booming in the US. The US economy is still booming, at least. And so as long as we're kind of in this in-between period where we're not yet at recession, but all leading indicators would suggest that recession is probably a second half event. But inflation is disinflating, right? So inflation is starting to lower month over month, and so really that's a really supportive environment for risk assets. So that's why we're kind of seeing this rally here. And then on top of that, the Federal Reserve's quantitative tightening efforts to roll off assets off their balance sheet, that's being partially offset, or actually pretty much offset, by the U.S. Treasury with their Treasury General Account and reverse repo facility, which is basically they're just propping more liquidity into the market. So the U.S. Treasury is basically offsetting Federal Reserve quantitative tightening. So you kind of get this relief in risk assets temporarily. And I think you're starting to see now on Twitter people calling a lot for the beginning of a new bull market. But I think that couldn't be further from the case, because we haven't even gotten to start cutting interest rates, let alone pausing interest rate cuts. And so I think the markets are going to be probably surprised in the next probably a couple quarters once they realize the Federal Reserve is serious about continuing to fight against inflation. But in the meantime, we can kind of have this false bull market for a little bit, maybe as far as until the second half of the year. And then we're probably going to fall off a cliff as soon as we kind of get into the recession. So kind of an in-between period right now is what I would describe it as. My advice is probably just to don't get fooled. This is not the beginning of a new bull market. Net liquidity is still going to inflect lower. And the Federal Reserve is serious about what they're doing in terms of fighting inflation, because they don't want a repeat of the 70s, which is what happened with Paul Volcker when they kind of eased off interest rates twice and they caused a double dip recession in the 80s. So a lot to consider, obviously, here, a lot of cross currents here to kind of consider. But I wouldn't be getting too excited about the beginning of a new bull market, because there's a lot more pain ahead of us to see. And so it'll just take time to unfold.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree that there is still more destruction to come, where this is sort of more like a bull trap than a bull run.
Sure.
Would you say that in that short term, you're saying like maybe second quarter or beginning? Is it beginning or end of second quarter?
Yeah, so the two big catalysts on my radar are at the end of March. I believe it's March 21st is the next Fed meeting. So we have another Fed meeting next Wednesday on February 1st, but that's not really an important meeting because they're not releasing their summary of economic projections, but they'll release their projections the next meeting in March. So on March 21st, that'll be the next time they release their summary of economic projections. The following time after that will be in the June meeting. So either in March or in June, I think that's when the market's going to finally realize, oh shit, the Fed is actually really serious about raising interest rates and keeping interest rates this high. Because right now the market is pricing Fed funds futures to start cutting interest rates by the second half, which you wouldn't be cutting interest rates unless you were actually in a recession, which we're clearly not, because the labor market is at all-time lows. So we're not really going to be into a recession until we see labor market unemployment rates start to increase. And that's probably not going to happen for a couple quarters. So when I talk about this kind of transitory Goldilocks, it's possible it could end in the end of the first quarter or as late as the second quarter. But I think by the time we get into the second half, I think people are going to realize there's a problem.
I had seen a post, and I think I sent it to you, that they're projecting 100,000 job losses in the next 30, 60 days. Do you agree with that? Do you think that it's going to be that kind of stuff, that kind of levels?
It's hard to say in the job market. I mean, we've been seeing headlines for layoffs, especially in the tech sector, for the past 6+ months. It usually takes time for that to materialize in the BLS data. But I mean, the Fed is projecting unemployment rate to increase 110 basis points by the end of the year, which I think is several million jobs. So the Fed expects unemployment rate to increase and job losses to happen. So I think the timing is probably up for debate, because sometimes these things take a little longer to flush out than you think. But yeah, I mean, it's coming for sure.
And last question here, just on your opinion of where we're at now with this, mini bull run, aka bull trap. Do you see it to be because I saw that a local high or a local ceiling that we had recently in the last like 2 or 3 months was 25,000, 25 to 26,000. Do you believe that will be tested again, and then that will be the return, or do you think that we'll still go up a little bit up to the next resistance point?
Yeah, so I'm not too much of a technician, but just some Elliott wave theory. I think the fourth wave would be 25.5K on Bitcoin. So you can hit 25.5K on Bitcoin and still be within the overall macro bear trend. Based on how things are trading and kind of based on where net liquidity is and that we're in this transitory Goldilocks period, I think it's definitely possible. I wouldn't be lever longing here for sure. I think that's absolute insanity. But if you don't have to chase a move, you don't have to chase a move. I mean, I really wouldn't be chasing any moves here. I don't know if we're going to make another macro low. I don't know if 16K was the full macro bottom. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, you got to realize when last summer, when Terra Luna collapsed and 3 Hours Capital collapsed, Alameda was functionally insolvent at the time. And it took 6 months for us to really kind of see the collapse of FTX and Alameda. And that's really what kind of brought that second leg down to 16K for Bitcoin or 15K for Bitcoin. I mean, it's possible in 6 months we get another situation like that. I mean, we don't really understand what's going on with Binance. There's some concerns around banks like Silvergate and Signature Bank, maybe doing some money laundering issues with, just no KYC for some of their clients, their crypto clients. And so I think there could be other potential issues. Digital Currency Group's another one that's an obvious red flag with the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Obviously Genesis and Genesis just declared bankruptcy, or they filed Chapter 11. So there are a lot of still unresolved issues in the crypto space that I think we could potentially see in the next 6 months. So we could probably see Bitcoin go lower, but I think the next time we get a big sell-off, I'm probably going to be buying in size. So that's probably where my head's at this point.
And if you guys are watching, you'll probably hear when we do that. We'll talk about it. We'll go like, hey guys, we're buying now. Just so you know, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Brian, for that perspective. Like I said, guys, if you want to know read his write-up, it comes out. It's the beginning of the month, usually, right? The first week of the month.
Yeah, usually in the first week of the month. Yeah, so probably first week of February, I'll release that. Yeah,
so you guys will be able to see like the research. Like this right here was his opinion and his perspective and what he's experienced. So if you once you know the facts and the actual research he does, catch the Substack. That's where all the deets and the meat will be. Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate your perspective. I always do. And I know that everybody's watching does as well. What I also like your perspective on is funny videos.
Let's do it.
So let's look at some videos here that I pulled up. I don't know why. I'm already laughing. We haven't even started. Because there's some good ones here. Okay, here we go. Let me pull this up.
No, 0, right?
Okay, this one's not that bad.
Just shadow it.
Yeah, fine.
It goes like minus.
And you're not touching.
I'm not touching. That's crazy. How the fuck is this possible? Okay.
Do you get what's happening?
Yeah.
Light photons have weight.
Start.
No,
0, right?
Yeah.
Just shadow it.
Shadow. It removes.
What's the sensitivity for this scale?
So that's a good question.
Yeah.
I can't see the. I mean, it says G. This is grams. So it's just a very sensitive scale, and that's just showing like the milligrams or the thousandths of a gram.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Light has weight. That just blew my mind. I thought it was like so interesting.
I mean, intuitively that makes sense. I mean, I've taken physics I should know that, but just seeing it practically is.
I know, right?
Interesting. That's
like,
crazy.
It just blows my mind. Like, education system sucks. That's all I got to say.
Oh my
Because
God.
there's a lot I didn't learn about physics and in this reality that I feel like would have completely changed my life if I knew, Okay. So here's the next video here. What are they doing? This is a Mongolian competition. They have to break that bone just with their bare hands.
You have to break the bone, right? Ooh. Ooh.
Whew. All right. So what do you think about that? This is called the cow bone breaking sport. It's a Mongolian sport, a thriving sport with hundreds of participants where one has to break a bone with a strike of their hand.
Jeez. I mean, this is why Americans are soft, right? We don't do sports like this. The first thing I thought.
We're just watching football, watching other people play sports instead of doing it ourselves.
But breaking a cow bone with your, I mean, that must be more difficult than breaking like bricks, right? Like with a karate chop or something.
For sure.
Way tougher, right? Yeah.
It has to be, because a brick is just, it's sand, mixed together, and then it's porous all around. A bone, you got the porous in the middle, you got like layers. You got the marrow in the middle, you got the porous in between the marrow and the outside, and you got the outer shell. I mean, that's a whole other game. Now, is it dried up? Maybe makes it a little easier if it's dry. Yeah,
I just wonder, like, this is
be a
like,
man.
What drove someone to want to do this sport, like the cow bone breaking sport? Like, don't you guys have a basketball or something? Like, come on, man, get it, play a real sport.
It's Mongolia, bro. They don't have basketball. I don't know. There's a basketball court. They're in a basketball court.
The irony, man. Come on.
I just saw the basketball net behind them. Oh, that's
great.
funny.
That's great.
All right, last one here. So fun. 18-year-old Mike Tyson had a 20-inch neck. This is how he achieved it. What am I doing with my life?
So I know people who do neck training, which is funny to say out loud. They have like they have like contraptions where you can it's like a helmet where you can do like neck raises.
I've seen that, and you can do you can like turn it and stuff.
That's a very old school way of training. What he's doing, obviously, he's just using his body weight to train his neck. But I mean, hey, listen, if you get punched, if you're boxing, I mean, you gotta strengthen the muscles around your neck and your traps, right? Because you can get your head knocked off pretty quick by a big guy. So maybe that's the secret. This is why Tyson was such a savage in the ring. Among
be a
other
man.
things.
Be like Tyson.
build a
your
neck.
whole weight. Yeah, build a neck. You got a 10-inch neck, Mike.
It's just 20-inch, man.
20-inch, bro. All right. Well, thank you, Brian. I thought I'd show you that because like you also have the gym. So
yeah,
you guys if you guys are there in Brooklyn, make sure you check out his gym. It is I forgot the name of your gym. I'm sorry.
It's OPEX Brooklyn.
OPEX Brooklyn. I'm sorry because I just interviewed Ian Smith. You know Ian Smith Fitness by any chance?
Yeah.
He's at Atlas Gym in Belmar. So I literally just interviewed him, and that was like stuck in my head there for a second.
Oh, cool.
But no, OPEX Gym in Brooklyn. Check it out, Brian. He drives around in weight a car made out of weights in the gym. So you can't miss. You can't
Oh yeah,
miss them.
I have. Yeah.
It's a car made of
That was
weights.
fun. Yeah, it's a car made of
All right.
barbells and plates. It was great.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. And I'll see you next time, brother. Peace.
All right, be good, Otto. See ya.
Peace. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here on the show and watching me. I'm going to go ahead and end it a little early today because I had a bunch of reasons. But thank you all for watching. And always remember, gamify your abundance. Peace out, guys.